Now that particular 8-iron there, is that the normal height? Okay.
Yep, that's the best I can do with it right there.
Okay. Okay, and take the right hand off. Just, okay, now re-grip and hold it up so I can see the underside. Hold it up in front of your face. I'm first going to look at you in the impact position because it's the most important. Everything the ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is a direct response to the laws of physics and motion at the brief moment of impact. On the left is Tiger hidden in iron. This is video I took at last year's US Open. On the right is Grant Wade hitting the driver. Grant was a PGA Tour player during the 90s and now is one of the top instructors of tour players. Grant's teaching partner is a good friend of mine, Joe Mayo, who lives in Las Vegas. Grant was considered by many as having one of the best and most fundamentally sound golf swings. At impact, they both have the majority of their weight on the left side. In fact, the average pro will have 85 to 90% of their weight on the left side at impact. I've drawn a red box from the center of their ankles to the top of their head, and you can see that the red line off their left foot is passing right through their belt buckle, showing how the center of their mass is right on top of their left foot. They both have extended arms through impact. Their elbows are close together and not separating. Having extended arms and weight forward allows them to control the low point of their arc of their swing. When hitting the iron, this fundamental allows the placement of the low point to be in front of the ball, so that they hit the ball first and then the ground, producing the maximum compression of the golf ball. These fundamentals also allows for the highest level of consistency in controlling the face angle and club path during impact, so that you in turn have the highest level of consistency in hitting whatever optimal ball flight you want. Craig, the purpose of swing analysis is not to change the look of the swing, just to make it fit some ideal swing model. The sole purpose is to change the negative ball flight that is impacting your score. Once a ball flight error begins to occur too frequently, you then must identify the part of the player's swing causing the club to be delivered to the ball in the wrong position. Your score is affected the most by your driver performance. Now, when you hit the driver in the beginning of the flight scope session, before I made any changes, you hit a variety of shots. Let me go over some of the numbers on a few of those shots, and if you want, you can pause the video if you want to study the chart a little bit closer. The first shot I tracked, you carried the ball 200 yards and landed almost 19 yards left of the target. Your club speed was 94 miles per hour. The ball had a spin rate of 3,900. Ideally, you'd want to be under 3,000. And had a leftward tilt of 30 degrees, which is quite a bit of tilt and causing the ball to curve quite a bit left. The launch angle was 17 degrees and reached a peak height of 102 feet. And those numbers are okay. Those numbers seemed adequate. At impact, the club was going down just under 1 degree with a path that was 11 degrees to the right of the target line and a face angle 6 degrees to the right. The 5-degree difference between face and path will cause the ball to curve too much to the left. Shot number 5 had a higher swing speed of 98 miles per hour, but carried only 149 yards. Now this shot was a low hook that only got off the ground 29 feet. You swung down the ball 3.4 degrees, with the face this time pointing left 5.6 degrees, but the path was 14.5 degrees to the right. This 20-degree differential caused a severe curve to the left, and you ended up 26 yards left of the target. Shot number 9 had the best carry distance of 225 yards, with a club speed of 97 miles per hour. You swung pretty level, about a 0 attack angle. The launch angle was 15.8 and a height of 98 feet, which is pretty close to optimal for you. But it ended up 11 yards to the right of the target. Now the face was 8 degrees to the right of the target, so the ball started right and had a path of 14 degrees to the right, which would create a leftward curve. It just didn't curve left enough to get back to the target line. The key patterns that were displayed before I made any changes are: the spin axis tilt of the ball was always left, and most with a severe tilt of over 25 degrees. Less than 3 degrees would be optimal. The path was always right, with most being greater than 10 degrees to the right of the target line. This is twice the amount for an optimal path if you want to hit a nice draw to the target. The face angle was mostly right, sometimes more than 10 degrees, and a few times was left 5 or 6 degrees. Ideally, for a nice draw, you would want the face angle to be around 2 or 3 degrees. Your horizontal swing direction was also right, with most being more than 10 degrees. Now, this is basically a measurement of how you set up to the ball, aiming to the right of the target. And you did this because you were trying to offset the amount of leftward curve that you normally have. The bottom line is, in order to change the poor shots with your driver, you have to change these numbers. We need to move the path more left and stabilize your face angle so it is consistently the same. We need the difference between the face and path to be less than 3 degrees instead of the current 6 to 8 degrees. In this series of shots, you hit more drives less than 60 feet high, and we need that consistently between 80 and 100 feet. These numbers quantify the relationship between the ball and the club during the brief moment of impact. Your body's position at impact determines the club's position, and everything you do prior to impact determines your form at impact. As I compare your swing to Grant Wade, I see a very fundamentally sound impact position at the macro level. I can't see a lot of difference between you and Grant. You are solid on your left side, arms extended, spine tilt is optimal. There's nothing obvious that is jumping off the screen identifying the cause of your bad impact numbers. The problems go deeper into the micro level of the club's path and face relationship. As I take the swings up to the post-impact positions, here's Grant going through, and when I stop him at the 9th position, when the right arm is parallel to the ground, and then I take you to that same position, again, I'm seeing very good similarities. Both arms are still extended, elbows close together. You're still on the left side. As I continue up to the finish with both swings, you have a very good finishing position. So at impact and post-impact, again, you demonstrate at the macro level very good fundamentally sound form. Now let's look at some of the swing positions prior to impact to see what influence they may have on the impact numbers. I've drawn a red box between the heels and a yellow arrow on the ball. Your ball position is much further right than Grant, and further right than any instructor would normally teach. The question now becomes, is this difference just a personal idiosyncrasy, or is it a fundamental difference that is causing your poor impact numbers? Well, the answer is yes. It is one of the main causes of your poor ball flight and should be one of the first things we change. With the ball further back in your stance, the club will be moving more right and more down than if it were in position where Grant's ball is. Also, the face will tend to be more open at that point because it hits the ball before it had time to become square. But also, your subconscious mind will at times try to force a faster rotation of the face to try to save the shot. And when this happens, the face can close too fast and be left of the target. After the initial collection of data with FlightScope, I changed your ball position and moved it up more in your stance. The swing on the right is one of your drives during the round, showing this new position. Now let's look at some of those flight scope numbers after the ball position change. After making this change, you immediately started hitting the ball further. Your longest carry before the change was 225 yards, and after the change, your shortest was 224, and you had 3 shots over 240 yards, with your longest at 262. For some reason, FlightScope didn't capture all the data, but where it did, we see why those carry numbers were better. First of all, your spin rate went way down, with all but one below 3,000 RPMs. After you became a little more comfortable with the new ball position, your spin axis went way down. Before, it was consistently above 20 degrees and then became below 9 degrees. The peak of your drive was never below 75 feet. It only captured a few path and face numbers, but those were also much better. Your ball flight changed from a low push hook to a high fade. I only worked a few minutes with your new ball position. Your own natural athletic ability was slowly figuring out how to adapt the swing to the new position and was doing a pretty good job. Obviously, it was inconsistent that day, but the new ball flight convinced me this change was the first change you needed to make. There will be other subtle changes you'll need to make, and I probably will need to help you with those changes because you need a pair of eyes outside of you looking at the swing while you reshape it. I am confident we can make driving one of your best parts of your game, which will have a huge impact on your score.